Hello, I am Dr. Patrice Berry. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I saw that the verdict was in, and I wanted to do a quick video just to see what happened. I have seen the count, the first count. I have not seen the rest of them. And if people have questions along the way, please feel free to let me know. But let's hop right into the verdict being read. Welcome, welcome. Thank y'all for anyone that's coming in. There are some other phenomenal streamers that are streaming this right now. And so I truly appreciate anyone that's coming in to support the channel here. There were some things that I wanted to comment on specifically. So there's going to be a lot of emotions that come up, especially out of the family. And that is completely understandable.
You're going to ask the clerk to publish the verdict, please.
In the 12th Judicial Circuit in and for Sarasota County, Florida, case number 2018 CA 005321NC. Jack Kowalski, individually, Jack Kowalski as parent and next friend of NK, a minor, and Jack Kowalski as personal representative of the estate of Beata Kowalski plaintiffs versus Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital Incorporated defendant. Verdict form. We, the jury, return the following verdict. Claim 1, false imprisonment, October 7th through October 13th, 2016, Maya Kowalski. 1, the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital falsely imprisoned Maya Kowalski without legal authority under circumstances that were unreasonable and unwarranted between October 7th and October 13th, 2016. Yes.
So I was over in Recovery Addicts stream, and a lot of people were wondering, why was there such a big reaction out of Maya, especially knowing that this was kind of what the family was looking for. And let me just say, with all of this, I think this is validation to her that what she went through was not okay. So this was a jury that heard all of that testimony, because the hospital never admitted that they did any of this. Like that they falsely imprisoned her. The hospital did not admit to this. And so I think all of the emotions that are coming up for her, I truly believe that it is based on like all of this fight. They have been fighting since 2017, I believe, or 2018. And throughout this whole process, she hasn't been able to participate in therapy without those therapy notes being used, because they're claiming emotional damage. And so if she was in any ongoing therapy, the defense would have access to those records. And so like I think this is finally all that they have wanted, like that this is validation that what she went through was not okay. And for a survivor, that can be really just, it can be this mixed thing of the emotions of, yes, like all of this wasn't for nothing, and then also kind of that validation of what I went through truly was not okay. And because I think up until this point, the hospital had tried to minimize a lot of the things that she experienced. And that's why I talked about medical gaslighting in a separate video that I did, talking about this case as well, because I think I can't imagine having went through all that this family has went through, and then finally, okay, count one, this is what they found. And I believe they're going to mention a dollar amount.
2, what is the total amount of Maya Kowalski damages for the medical and psychological expenses to be incurred in the future after she reaches the age of 18 based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016? $2,496,000.
So it sounds like it was over 2 million for that count. And this family, I don't think it's about the money. I truly think it was about going on a larger stage and somebody finally acknowledging that what they went through, once again, not like that it was exactly what the jury is saying it was.
3. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016? $3 million. 4. What is the reasonable value or expense of hospitalization and medical, psychological, and nursing care and treatment necessarily or reasonably obtained by Jack Kowalski for his child, Maya Kowalski, in the past, or to be so obtained in the future until Maya Kowalski reaches the age of 18, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016? $67,200. 5. Under the circumstances of this case, state whether you find by clear and convincing evidence that punitive damages are warranted for the false imprisonment occurring between October 7th and October 13th, 2016. Yes. Claim 1, false imprisonment, October 18th through October 20th, 2016, Maya Kowalski. 6. The Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital falsely imprisoned Maya Kowalski without legal authority under circumstances that were unreasonable and unwarranted between October 18th and October 20th, 2016? Yes.
Wow.
7. What was the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for medical and psychological expenses to be incurred?
So just for anyone that's coming into this case that doesn't know what count 1 and count 2. So count 1 was that period of time where the family was told that they were unable to leave the hospital, that the police would be called if they left against medical advice. And it's the hospital's policy that people can decline medical care, that they can sign themselves out. Now, if somebody is like if they're, I don't know, like if it's, and that's where I think the hospital was trying to say that it wasn't safe to let her go at that point, and yet there wasn't the court action to go with that until Dr. Smith got involved. And then that second count was the EEG room. So this hospital, and this was the one that I thought was particularly egregious, they kept her in a room for 2 days for the purpose of monitoring, because they were trying to see, was she faking? Like, could she walk? Because they believed that she could do things. And yet during that time, she was not able, like she reports having multiple issues that happened. And then so that is the second count that the jury also found, that the hospital should be liable for that as well.
In the future, after she reaches the age of 18, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 18th and October 20th, 2016. $1,400,000. 8. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 18th and October 20th, 2016? $3 million. 9. What is the reasonable value or expense of hospitalization and medical, psychological, and nursing care and treatment necessarily or reasonably obtained by Jack Kowalski for his child, Maya Kowalski, in the past or to be so obtained in the future until Maya Kowalski reaches the age of 18, based on the false imprisonment occurring between October 18th and October 20th, 2016? $561,298. 10. Under the circumstances of this case, state whether you find by clear and convincing evidence that punitive damages are warranted for the false imprisonment occurring between October 18th and October 20th, 2016. Yes. Claim 1, false imprisonment, January 6, 2017, Maya Kowalski. 11, did Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital falsely imprison Maya Kowalski without legal authority under circumstances that were unreasonable and unwarranted on January 6, 2017? Yes. 12, what is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for medical and psychological expenses to be incurred in the future after she reaches the age of 18, based on the false imprisonment occurring on January 6, 2017? $188,000. 13, what is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future, based on the false imprisonment occurring on January 6, 2017? $15 million. 14, what is the reasonable value or expense of hospitalization and medical, psychological, and nursing care and treatment necessarily or reasonably obtained by Jack Kowalski for his child, Maya Kowalski, in the past or to be so obtained in the future until Maya Kowalski reaches the age of 18, based on the false imprisonment occurring on January 6, 2017? $325,000. 15, under the circumstances of this case, state whether you find by clear.
And so I can stream. So I have another 30 minutes. So I do have a hard stop at 3 p.m., but I will try once we get through this portion. I'm not sure how long it lasts. And Ray, I think I think they knew that this was going to be a part of the process. And I don't think there's any number that anyone could ever pay. So this family is going to, I think they would have rather never have went through any of this and have Beata and have never experienced any of this than to get whatever amount of money that they're going to likely fight for in appeal. I don't think a single check is going to be written until they get through the appeal process. This judge and jury, like they have been phenomenal. And I think the way the judge maintained the record, I do think it's going to make it harder to overturn on appeal. The defense does have a very, very good appeals attorney, and the plaintiffs also seem to have a lawyer that's very knowledgeable in that as well. All right, let's keep going.
And convincing evidence that punitive damages are warranted for the false imprisonment occurring on January 6, 2017? Yes. Claim 2, battery, January 6, 2017, Maya Kowalski. 16, did Catherine Beatty and any bedside nurse commit a battery on Maya Kowalski on January 6, 2017? Yes. 17, what is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for psychological treatment incurred in the future after she reaches the age of 18?
Once again, I just want to cover for anyone that didn't watch the full trial, this count is related to Beatty and a bedside nurse holding her down to take pictures. Those pictures are horrific. You can see the anguish in her face. And all of the John Hopkins nurses, they all talked about how modest she was and how they would put up a curtain so that she could change, or they would look away. And so forcing her to do those pictures, that was very, very, very problematic. And it looks like the jury found that as well. And so let's keep going.
18, based on the battery occurring on January 6, 2017, $4 million. 18, what is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, disability, physical impairment, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future, based on the battery occurring on January 6, 2017? $8 million.
Wow.
19, what is the reasonable value or expense of hospitalization and medical, psychological and nursing care and treatment necessarily or reasonably obtained by Jack Kowalski for his child, Maya Kowalski, in the past or to be so obtained in the future until Maya Kowalski reaches the age of 18 based on the battery occurring on January 6, 2017. $559,000. 20. Under the circumstances of this case, state whether you find by clear and convincing evidence that punitive damages are warranted for the battery occurring on January 6, 2017. Yes. Claim 2. Battery, hugs, pats, kisses, and placing on lap. Maya.
That one. So Beatty, so this is extremely problematic for me as a therapist. The fact that the social worker that was involved, the hospital social worker, used to do unwanted, like she would put her on her lap, like hugs, like to me, and the social worker tried to say that Maya asked for this. I can I personally, in my opinion, I don't know if that's accurate. I'm trying to say that as nicely as I can. I think that social worker wanted to comfort her. I don't think Maya wanted that. And let's keep going.
Kowalski. 21. Did Catherine Beatty commit one or more batteries on Maya Kowalski through hugging, patting, kissing, and placing Maya Kowalski on her lap? Yes. 22. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for psychological treatment incurred in the future after she reaches the age of 18 based on Catherine Beatty's hugging, patting, kissing, and placing Maya Kowalski on her lap? $8 million. 23. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, disability, physical impairment, mental anguish, inconvenience, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future based on Catherine Beatty's hugging, patting, kissing, and placing Maya Kowalski on her lap? $11 million. 24. What is the reasonable value or
So if anyone's keeping track, I think so far that count has been the highest. I believe that's the highest amount that the jury has awarded so far. I wonder if it's her mom's. I don't know that it is, but so Jules over on TikTok, and I believe it's Blind Gossip is Jules over on TikTok, and she's been able to talk with the family because I know yesterday or one of these days, I think Maya wore her mom's earrings. And I think that the rosary is just a source of comfort for her. I'm yeah, I'm gonna keep going. This is I have been team Maya the entire time. I did hear the hospital's case, and I understood where they were coming from, and yet I heard things on the plaintiff's side that as a mental health professional, there were things that clearly seemed to violate her rights and what I would consider to be typical care within a hospital. And it looks like the jury agreed.
expense of hospitalization and medical, psychological, and nursing care and treatment necessarily or reasonably obtained by Jack Kowalski for his child, Maya Kowalski, in the past or to be so obtained in the future until Maya Kowalski reaches the age of 18 based on Catherine Beatty's hugging, patting, kissing, and placing Maya Kowalski on her lap. $1,000. Claim 3, medical negligence, Maya Kowalski. 25. Was Dr. Sally Smith an apparent agent of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital at the
Before they read it, for once again, for anyone that hasn't watched the whole thing, Dr. Sally Smith worked for an outside agency. So in Florida, they have privatized their child welfare system, and Dr. Smith came in and was called by the hospital and used her privileges at the hospital to access Maya's files before the case had been opened by social services officially, before there was an official case opened with them. And her supervisor tried to come in and say that what she did was okay. And with, ugh. To me, she saw herself as an investigator and almost had this, in my opinion, this like vigilante, I'm gonna save the children, but in a way where she had confirmation bias, where she only looked for the information and only included the information that confirmed what she thought, and she did not include and seemed to ignore or think that it was the plaintiff's job to provide any information that went to the contrary, like anything that was opposite. To me, a thorough investigation would present the whole case. It wouldn't only present a biased, like a one-sided thing. So that's where Dr. Smith comes in. And the family alleges that when they were talking with Dr. Smith, they did not realize that she was investigating child maltreatment, and that she did not work for the hospital. They thought that she was a part of Maya's care team. Dr. Smith also was like involved in some of the treatment, and I think they ran certain things by her. And to me, the boundaries were blurred significantly, in my opinion. But let's see what the jury thought.
The time and place of any treatment she provided to Maya Kowalski? Yes. 26. Was Dr. Sally Smith negligent in the medical care of Maya Kowalski? And was that negligence a legal cause of loss, injury, or damage to Maya Kowalski? Yes. 27. Excluding and not considering the conduct of Dr. Sally Smith, were one or more healthcare providers negligent in the medical care of Maya Kowalski at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital? And was their negligence a legal cause of loss, injury, or damage to Maya Kowalski? Yes.
I want to go back to the beady lap thing because Ray made a really good point that I wanted to highlight. I agree. I don't think an 11-year-old would ask to sit on a stranger. And it's my understanding. So Maya said that Kathy Beatty said things like she wanted to adopt her, or she was going to be her mom now. Like that is like that is so wrong and goes against a lot of the ethical things that I'm aware of. I'm not a social worker, I'm a licensed psychologist. So social work, but even in understanding mental health ethics, it sounds like that would violate things. And yeah, let's keep going.
28. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for lost earnings in the past, loss of earning capacity in the future, medical, psychological, and nursing care and treatment expenses to be incurred in the future? $4,700,000. 29. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, disability or physical impairment, mental anguish, inconvenience, aggravation of a disease or physical defect, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future? $22 million.
Whoa. Okay. So far I think that one is the highest count. So that was Dr. Smith coming in, and they believe that she acted as an agent of the hospital and that she should be responsible, or that the hospital should be responsible for her actions, even though she is not a Johns Hopkins employee. Wow.
Claim 4. Fraudulent billing for Mr. Kowalski. 30. Did All Children's Hospital fraudulently misrepresent a material matter in its invoices to Jack Kowalski or his insurers? Yes.
Okay. So that claim, so the hospital billed, it's my understanding, over $500,000 of CRPS treatment. And yet the hospital was saying that they believe she might have conversion disorder, or that her mom might have Munchausen by proxy, or all of these other things. And yet they billed. And when they were asking for more time, or they were doing the authorizations with the insurance company, the diagnosis that is listed is CRPS. But she's in DSS custody because they don't believe that she has CRPS. And it's a whole, I'm glad the jury saw through all of that, because I don't think anyone did a really great job explaining the difference between conversion disorder and how pain and mental health are interconnected. And I do believe that Maya does have CRPS. I know a lot of people think different things. It like and Oh, it is a whole thing. And then also the fact, and DSS wasn't included in this, Dr. G talked a lot about how they should have done some type of parenting evaluation or provided family therapy or done something if they did think that mom did have Munchausen by proxy, which they did not provide. And they didn't provide adequate therapy, in my opinion. They didn't provide adequate therapy. It seemed to be cognitive behavior therapy or mental health therapy seemed to be like not really prioritized. I don't know how else to say it. Like that's it just she only got between I've heard numbers between 3 to 5 hours of therapy in the 80 something days that she was hospitalized. And before being hospitalized, she was getting weekly outpatient therapy. And that's where they were like, I would have thought she would at minimum still get weekly therapy.
31. Did Jack Kowalski or his insurance company rely to their detriment on the fraudulent misrepresentation you found in answer to question 30? Yes. 32. What is the total amount of Jack Kowalski's damages for any deductibles or co-pays incurred as a result of Maya Kowalski's sheltering at Johns Hopkins, or increases in the cost of insurance coverage in the past or in the future, including increased premiums, co-pays, and higher deductibles? $3 million. 33. What is the total amount of Jack Kowalski's damages for the difficulty of finding insurance in the future? $2 million. Claim 5. Survivor.
I don't think they've explained the lien, because sometimes with your insurance company, if I'm injured in a car accident and I get medical treatment, but then I'm awarded money because of that, then sometimes the insurance company, and let's say I use my insurance to pay for the medical treatment I received, then if I'm awarded something, sometimes the insurance company will put a lien out where if I receive a payment that the insurance company gets to be reimbursed for a portion. And I don't know, because I don't think they fully clarified the lien. I'm not a lawyer, okay? I'm a psychologist. And so please check out Ask Those Questions to Rob, to Lawyer I'm sure they can answer any of those things, but that did make me think about that lien that's out there.
Claim for the intentional infliction of emotional distress in the estate of Beata Kowalski. 34. Did Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, through the acts of its employees, engage in extreme and outrageous conduct, intending that conduct to cause or with reckless disregard of the high probability of causing severe emotional distress to Beata Kowalski prior to her death? Yes. 35. What is the total?
Okay. Okay, that was a big one. So that count was, did the hospital engage in reckless behavior that led to the emotional distress and ultimately Beata, and it's not included in this language, but because Beata did unalive herself, just she did not think that her daughter would ever be given back to her. And I think she lost hope in this process. And this family wanted to hold the hospital responsible for that. And I was a little concerned because of some of the laws in Florida. I was concerned about how that would go. And it looks like the jury did find for the family on that, which is huge. That is really huge. And once again, this family, they would so rather have their family member than have any of this money. And I think once again with that So gaslighting is saying that I'm not experiencing what I'm experiencing. So gaslighting is the hospital, in my opinion, is the hospital saying, "Oh, it wasn't that bad. We didn't mean for that to happen. We weren't," because those messages between staff, the ketamine girl texts, all of those things I think might have played into the jury coming to this finding.
Total amount of Beata Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering or mental anguish caused by the extreme emotional distress prior to her death on January 7, 2017, $3 million. Claim 6, wrongful death claim for intentional infliction of emotional distress causing death in the estate of Beata Kowalski. 36, the Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, through the acts of its employees, engage in extreme and outrageous conduct, intending that conduct to cause or with reckless disregard of the high probability of causing severe emotional distress to Beata Kowalski that was sufficient to be a legal cause of Beata Kowalski's death by suicide. Yes.
That's
37, did the conduct that you found in question 36 create in Beata Kowalski an uncontrollable impulse to die by suicide? Yes. 38, was the conduct that you found in question 36 of substantial factor in Beata Kowalski's death by suicide? Yes. Question 39 addresses damages of the estate. What is the total amount of any damages sustained by the estate for loss of net accumulations? $653,676. Question 40 and 41 address damages of surviving spouse Jack Kowalski. 40, what is the amount of any damages sustained by Jack Kowalski for the loss of Beata Kowalski's support and services and funeral expenses resulting from Beata Kowalski's death paid by Jack Kowalski? $18 million. 41, what is the total amount of damages sustained by Jack Kowalski for the loss of his wife's companionship and protection and for his pain and suffering as a result of Beata Kowalski's death? $50 million. Number 42, what is the total amount of damages sustained by Maya Kowalski for the loss of Beata Kowalski's support and services? $2 million. 43, what is the total amount of damages sustained by Maya Kowalski for the loss of parental companionship, instruction and guidance, and Maya Kowalski's pain and suffering as a result of Beata Kowalski's injury and death? $18 million. Question 44 and 45 address the survivor damages of Kyle Kowalski. 44, what is the total amount of damages sustained by Kyle Kowalski for the loss of Beata Kowalski's support and services? $2 million. 45, what is the total amount of damages sustained by Kyle Kowalski for the loss of parental companionship, instruction, and guidance, and Kyle Kowalski's pain and suffering as a result of Beata Kowalski's injury and death? $18 million. Claim 7, intentional infliction of emotional distress, Maya Kowalski. 46.
Okay. We might need just that was a lot. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep playing it. The way that the court feed, so I'm using Law and Crimes feed, and I just wanted to give the chat a little break. I did a video on for people that have survived a loved one unaliving themselves. And in that video, we talk a lot about the grief and the shame and the guilt because poor Maya, I can imagine that she has a lot of guilt. She could potentially think, I I wish I never had pain. I wish I didn't. I don't know, like I could see her also turning inward. And so I do hope that she finds and that the whole family, because I think Kyle, I don't think we talk enough about Kyle. because we talk about taking care of Maya. I think Kyle too, and the jury acknowledged that he also lost his mom in this process, because a lot of energy and attention goes to Maya, and there are just horrific details on this case. And so that's why I did want to take a little break, because I totally get it. If this is and it's the way that they're showing it. I wish they were showing the judge, or I wish they would pan out, or that the cameras by the family weren't sorry, not the camera, the sound, because we can hear the emotion that's coming up for them. And so please take care of yourselves as you're watching. My 3 p.m. canceled, so I don't have a time limit. So I will keep going, and then also see if we're able to watch some of the punitive information as well. So we will watch that.
6. The Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, through the acts of its employees, engage in extreme and outrageous conduct, intending that conduct to cause or with reckless disregard of the high probability of causing severe emotional distress to Maya Kowalski. Yes. 47. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for lost earnings in the past, loss of earning capacity in the future, medical expenses incurred in the past, and medical expenses to be incurred in the future? $3 million. 48. What is the total amount of Maya Kowalski's damages for pain and suffering, disability or physical impairment, mental anguish, inconvenience, aggravation of a disease or physical defect, and loss of capacity for the enjoyment of life sustained in the past and to be sustained in the future? $7,500,000. So say we all, this 9th day of November 2023, for a person.
Hand me back the verdict form, please. Do the attorneys wish to inspect the verdict form?
Wow. So if I saw that right, it looks like the jury return. It looks like they found for everything. Wow. And someone mentioned, they asked if the video on the surviving death by unaliving, if that video, so it should be under the live tab. I think it was on Sunday. Yeah, I did that one on Sunday. I can imagine that she likely does have some guilt, and I think that's where I think she just wanted to be okay. And her therapist, the most recent therapist that she worked with, and it looked like that therapist had training in health psychology as well, and in pain management. And that therapist really sounded awesome. But their records ended up coming into court, and this family struggles with trusting social workers, with trusting doctors, with trusting the system after experiencing what they experienced. I do think situations like this are going to make those systems be more responsible, be more careful, especially with the amount of money that currently the hospital is going to be liable for. They are going to fight this on appeal. They are just going to fight this. So I'm going to play it here and then see if I can find where it started the y'all know what I mean, the portion where they're talking about punitive damages.
Yes. Please come. Well, counsel, please come forward if you wish to inspect the verdict form.
All right, so let's go ahead and fast forward past this part. And this family has been through so much, and here's the court being back. So and I think the plaintiffs might go first. I wonder. Once again, not a lawyer.
Yes, Your Honor, and I'm back in Tampa, although I'm having some computer problems, so I'm still on my phone.
Oops, I probably did.
Okay, so let me see about fast forwarding just a little bit more. So it looks like they talked about some things. Let's see what's happening here.
Asking the question, which is basically whether or not the punitive damage cap applies or can be avoided. And since we don't tell them why we're asking them the question, I don't see, it's the same evidence between phase 1 and phase 2. There's a little extra evidence in phase 2, so I'm not exactly sure why it would matter, but I recognize the objection.
Are we going to be allowed to put on the evidence we need for that question?
You're going to be able to put the evidence that you wish to put on. Mr. Cottrell is coming back, I see.
But to be clear, we were not preparing anything to put on for this particular issue until we received notice this morning that they wanted to do it this way.
Well,
So we're having a trial with, what, 4 hours notice or something like that on an issue that should have been tried throughout the trial from the very beginning.
I understand your objection, and this is how we're going to proceed.
Okay. And so please talk. And I don't know. So Rob and Ian, I believe we're talking over on the Recovery Addict. Recovery Addict, a phenomenal stream. I've been following that coverage. I wanted to make sure to have this reaction here. I believe Lawyer You Know is also streaming as well. And I support, because those are the lawyers. I'm talking about it from the psychological side. I have no clue about the legal. I almost thought about reaching out to Natalie to see if we could do something together, but it didn't work out for my schedule. It was best to kind of do it now. So
Okay.
And I to be as clear as I can, Mr. Altenburn has preserved this issue for appellate purposes, and if we need to address it post trial motions, we can definitely readdress it then. But I'm going to get the finding from the jury as to what they are thinking. So with respect to the instructions, Mr. Altenburn had a slight change to go to when you determine. Any problem with that, Mr. Elegant? On the second line?
okay, I'm going to skip past this part. I think this is just the logistics. And then let's see what happens here. This is probably still them talking. So let's go forward a little bit more. Let's see when the jury's back.
Are these financials?
Yes, Your Honor, and we could proceed with what's labeled as 2279H and J.
Okay, so they're doing more logistics. I'm going to fast forward past this part. Let's see what's happening here.
Yes, that's what we talked about, that the
Oh, I did not understand. I thought, for heaven's sakes, you were going to still use clear and convincing evidence, which has got to be the finding on that. It can't be it's not a damage element. It's a substantive element to allow for damage.
which is why the question says something along the lines of, based on clear and convincing evidence, do you find, or something like.
Yes, but then it's followed by one that says greater weight of the evidence. You're giving a pair of them each time.
Correct, because I'm not sure if, I think you're right.
This is like the causation thing. You don't know what the law is, so you're going to give the jury both options right now? Is that what you're going to do? I'm sorry, I object to that. Yeah.
Okay, well, Mr. Altenburn, because the law isn't as clear as we need it to be, I am giving both variants. I'm going first with the clear and convincing evidence, and if they find by clear and convincing evidence the specific intent, they will not answer the greater weight. If they answer.
The fact that John Hopkins has an appeals lawyer talking now, I think that just shows you the weight of how much money is truly at stake, because they're trying to limit what the jury can and can't do at this point. Wow.
No to the clear and convincing, then I'm going to ask to the greater weight of the evidence. That way it gives us the maximum flexibility to address it. And then when and if this goes up to the appellate court, it gives the appellate court the maximum flexibility. I would hate to say it's clear and convincing, and then the second tells me, no, Judge Carroll, it's greater weight, and I got to do this whole thing over when I can just ask one more question.
This whole thing is to make unlimited.
So Judge Carroll has been amazing with all of this. I'm going to fast forward past some of the videos, and it looks like they're going back and forth about something. Let's see what this is about.
Eliminated a couple of items from their exhibits, and I'm listening to your statement. So I just want to make sure, are you saying that I am closed-minded in this case?
Judge, I'm suggesting that on this particular issue, you have indicated a predilection regarding the Heart Institute.
Judge Carroll. Did y'all see his face? Wait a minute. I got to go back a little bit. Are you saying can I do this without messing anything up too much? Let me see if I can go back just a little bit. Are you saying, okay, let's see what this was about. Ooh, all right. So we went back a little bit.
And people have real stories they can share with me. And I have
Mr. Hunter.
Three things, Judge. First of all, it was referenced during Ms. Green's deposition, and I'll reference it here. That voice that you're hearing is sped up. It's not his true speaking voice, and it's not particularly complimentary to him. Number two, if they're going to play this, if you're going to let this in, I want to see the whole thing, and we have never been provided that. Number three, number three, we have not previously been provided this, and we'd like to at least have the opportunity to look at the whole thing, because clips are being cut out of this thing out of context, and we don't know what the whole thing is. Okay, there are segments in this thing that we're playing.
In my opinion, they have some nerve. In my opinion, they have some nerve to talk about things being withheld. With the fight that the plaintiffs had to go through just to get the documents for related to the immediate jeopardy, like the deposition, the issues, all those things that came up. Recovery Addict read the deposition, I think a little bit yesterday and more of it today. I was able to watch portions of that. Like the fact that they're saying that they're all up in arms about something possibly being withheld.
Played the other night, and that we have discussed internally, that in which Mr. Sowers confronted some people and actually apologized for some of the conditions leading up to the immediate jeopardy. But finally, the immediate jeopardy is, with all due respect to Your Honor and prior rulings, that is irrelevant to this case. Well, Your Honor's laughing, but
I'm saying because
to me, it's not irrelevant because it's talking about systemic issues at the hospital. The immediate jeopardy wasn't that the Heart Institute was in immediate jeopardy. It was the whole hospital. And there was a whole hospital system-wide issue with risk management, with one person having too many hats, and with communication not getting to the board. Now it mostly related to the Heart Institute, but I see why Judge Carroll's doing what he's doing.
just listened to the clips and there was nothing about the Heart Institute, which is what you were telling me in open court all of this was about.
well, Your Honor, and
I'm just saying, Mr. Hunter, it seems what you're saying and what I'm hearing do not match.
And what I was also saying, Your Honor, was that you're only hearing seconds-long clips. You're not hearing the whole thing. You're not hearing the entire matter. And it doesn't sound like you're prepared to listen to the whole matter.
But time out, because that's a very serious statement you just made. Do you really think I am not making balls and strike calls? I've just eliminated a couple of items from their exhibits, and I'm listening to your statement. So I just want to make sure, are you saying that I am closed-minded in this case?
Judge, I'm suggesting that on this particular issue, you have indicated a predilection regarding the.
In my opinion, the lawyers are fighting so hard to keep some of this out because it really makes the hospital look bad. And if the jury sees some of this stuff, the numbers that they could give could go up significantly. I've heard some of the transcript. So I think during the deposition, they played some of these clips, and it's talking about hospital workers are talking about how they feel that that they failed their patients, and that just how upset they are with the system. Specifically, I think John Hopkins part, but
a Heart Institute issue that I don't think that I'm able to get past. And that's my problem with it. And on these particular clips, what you're also seeing once again, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but you've just listened. This is a town hall meeting that went on for some period of time. I don't know how long it was. They've got the whole clip of it. Okay. A whole clip of it I haven't seen. And frankly, don't to this moment know the entire source of. But you're reacting and visibly reacting to clips from that thing that are seconds long. You're not hearing the whole story. And that's my problem with it, Judge.
Mr. Whitney, do you have the full clip?
No, Your Honor, we have portions of the town hall meetings. They were sent to us in discrete files. There are approximately 9 or 10 of them. As I said to notice, Ms. Green testified she recognized the media system these were being played from on Friday evening. And we had a busy weekend through no fault of our own. But at that point, Mr. Hunter and his colleagues could have gone to Ms. Green and Kevin Sowers and figured out where this resided in the Johns Hopkins system. It resided with them, not with us. So they had, what day is today? Thursday?
Thursday.
They had nearly a week to watch their own video. And the second thing I'll point out is that it's no different than Jack Kowalski having to sit here and listen to clips of Stephanie Graham's interview, because we can't admit his, but we have to accept them as party admissions, and they should be forced to do the same of clips.
Have you turned over any other clips that you have not played here that they can see? Did you get anything else?
Yes, Your Honor, there's more to this, but they've never asked us to produce these clips.
Well, if the defense wants to see those additional clips, that's fine. And they should be able to see them.
Well, I would add to this, Your Honor. We tried to find this thing and we couldn't. And I understand that Ms. Lawrence is related to a past or former employee of ours. I don't know whether this is the source of that
That's
or
a
not.
false allegation. I mean, that's true that she is related to a former employee, but that was not the source of these, and that's a false
I
allegation.
just said I don't know.
Okay, well, I'm just clearing it up. Was it from that person?
But the point is, there is a rule of completeness and context here that irrespective of whether I get the complete set of clips, which I appreciate, irrespective of whether I get those or not, these things are clips that got taken out of context and are being played as party admissions, even though the whole story and the whole statement isn't being played. And that's highly prejudicial.
I wonder if they could just say, like, this is a clip or this is a portion. I don't know. Like, I wonder if they could just say some things that the jury's aware that this isn't the entire town hall. That John Hopkins side doesn't have access to everything. To me, this judge has been incredibly fair. And I think Attorney Hunter, because there have been some things that have happened from what I've seen that have come off questionable. And in my mind, he's doing his best to protect his client, the hospital. And yet, I think his perspective of, oh, this is only the Heart Institute, but the actual report seems to show more of a systemic hospital-wide issue. Now, the specific, like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
And it is also ambush, and it just shouldn't be taking place, Judge.
The court's going to receive into evidence 2832, 2832, B as in Bravo, 2832, C as in Charlie, and 2832, D as in Delta. What's next, Mr. Whitney?
We have
I'm sorry, Judge. Am I to be provided the balance of these clips?
Yeah, didn't I just
we will
ask him to
send
do
it over
that?
immediately.
I didn't.
I apologize if I thought I had
He was clear.
said that they need to see it.
He
We're
was
going to send them immediately.
Thank you.
The next is, Mr. Reyes, you have this as 5003 on your system. Your Honor, on the exhibit list here, it's 2758 Delta, and it is an audio clip of Ms. Beatty's sworn testimony.
okay. I'm gonna go left. I'm gonna fast forward ahead. So I'm gonna try the arrow thing. I'm on a Mac. Oh, it does work. Yay. Thank you for that. For the skipping ahead with the arrow button. believe that was thank you, Christina. I appreciate that. That really helps. All right, let's go forward. We might end up almost at real time. I wonder if I don't hear anything right now. I wonder if they have it muted, if they don't have the mics on. Okay, the jury's coming in. The one witness that stood for the jury, I thought that was really sweet.
The first round, we now move into the punitive
Sorry about that. That was loud.
damages phase. We're going to have opening statements from the plaintiff and then the defense. Plaintiffs?
I will see. Thank you for the past 9 weeks. We've just got a little bit more to go. So this is where we determine the amount of money necessary to change corporate behavior and make sure this kind of stuff never happens again. And what our case is based around are those series of emails and memos you saw coming down from the highest up, the general counsel, over to risk management, and then directly down to Beatty and the folks kind of on the ground level, I guess, of the interaction with Maya that brought that verdict from you. So what we want to do here now is have you focus, and we can we'll bring them up as necessary. That series of memos when you're back there, you probably already remember them, when there were directions to do these things from the highest level of the company. And that's what we're talking about when you get a question on here about specific intent. It's not just like a general screw up of the company. It's about whether the company management, for its own reasons, decided on a course of action that they had to know. And in fact, in addressing it, address the fact that it was going to harm this little girl. You know, and this is somebody who is vulnerable by herself. She cannot get out of the way. She cannot escape. So it's about protecting the most vulnerable people in that hospital and in our society. So that's why we have punitive damages in this country. It is to force a change in corporate conduct. It is to overcome the inertia of we've been doing it this way for a long time, and we got hit for a malpractice award. Let's put it over here on this part of the balance sheet, and if we're left.
Okay, there's a good thing happening in the chat, and so I just want to talk about because there was a good comment about hospitals not being for profit and even nonprofit businesses. So like Goodwill is technically a nonprofit organization, but the CEOs can make there is a profit that is made. So nonprofit status in the United States just means at the end of the year that you don't make money at the end of the year. So they can do that by paying salary. There's typically a board that approves what happens. I can Google whether Johns Hopkins is a for-profit or not-for-profit hospital, but hospitals' healthcare in the United States is very much a money situation, which that's one of my many pet peeves because and I accept health insurance. It can be a difficult situation to be in. But insurance companies make money when people don't use their services, or when claims are denied, or when things like that happen. There is a profit that happens, or when services are denied. And I personally see that as a problem. That healthcare should be about health. It shouldn't be about money. But it is. And
Maybe the president won't hear about it. You need to make an award to make sure there's absolutely no question. Everyone in that organization, all the way up to the top, hears about it. And we're going to bring here, I think Nick's going to take him, Stephen Heese, who's the president of Chris Craft Boats. They're right over here off 15th Street next to the airport, the nation's oldest boat manufacturer, been around for 160 years. And Steve's not that old. but he's gonna come in and explain to you a little bit about managing risk and why these kind of verdicts are important. Number one. Number two, fantastically, he's also a certified public accountant and was a partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers. So he knows how to run these numbers. So what we did was we had them produce their tax returns and their financial statements, their audited financial statements. So we know how much money they were making, and we had Steve calculate their real net worth based on the furnitures, fixtures, equipment, income, the $555 million in gross income they made one year. He's going to list all those out for you. Please take notes on the specific numbers as they come in. And what we want to do here is assign a certain percentage out of net worth, out of revenue, or both, and that is within your province.
Okay, so I just wanted to update. So John Hopkins is a nonprofit organization, but remember what I said about nonprofit doesn't mean that it just means at the end of the year what they spend and how much they brought in, that's zero, that matches that. So like a private hospital could make an extra 2 million, 5 million, 100 million, that a private hospital can have a profit. A not-for-profit hospital, they have to balance their books.
But to effectuate what you checked, yes, you believe punitive damages are warranted. It must be enough money to absolutely make sure that the highest levels of a very, very large company hear about this and are forced to make the changes necessary to ensure that this never happens to another family. That's the mission, all right? So you'll get a verdict form, and it'll have several questions. This one, thank goodness, is only 9 pages long, so you won't have to spend reading another novel after writing a novel on each witness. And you'll go through it, and it'll have questions that ask you, based on Mr. Heese's testimony, on the various the incidents that we're talking about. I don't know. It just is so insulting to call these things incidents. The damage, the injury to Maya and her family at different, same ones you saw before and checked yes to. And there are 2 types of questions. One is on clear and convincing evidence, how much per incident, just like you did before. And the second one is, and importantly, about specific intent. And that is where you signal whether you understood and agree that from that highest point there, they had made up their mind to initiate a policy that led to what you saw for 9 weeks. And so you can have any evidence you want. It's all back there. You can go back and check those emails. I made a big deal about them in my opening 9 weeks ago. If you need those, check them out to confirm what we're saying is correct. But you'll see there that risk management had directed this stuff, and that's why it's so important to get into that specific intent. Because again, this is all about sending a message. The first part of your case was about compensation. Now that's over. Now what we're doing is correcting behavior, right? We're correcting behavior. And again, I keep saying these things because
So I'm going to guess that the John Hopkins side, they're likely going to say that we've already worked towards correcting this behavior. I'm going to fast forward to try to catch up with live.
I think has gotten everybody's attention.
I'm going to go back. There we go. I like Whitney.
This is a video of a town hall meeting at Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, concurrent with the immediate jeopardy. You can play it.
So let's talk about the survey results. So we did have the 12 surveyors, as you all know, on site. You all, for those who were here, had the opportunity to experience that. There's a couple things I want you to understand. Is when they were here, you may have heard me say this before, they were surveying us on a federal level, which is around the conditions of participation for CMS, and they were also surveying us at a state level. So this was both a survey for federal regs and also state regs. So let's first of all talk about what immediate jeopardy means, because that's the word that I think has gotten everybody's attention. And just so you all know, this is not my first time to be in an organization where there has been an immediate.
That's it.
That video excerpt. We'd next like to play 2832 Bravo, previously admitted, further from the town hall meeting.
The jeopardy that you can receive is something that's called around culpability. And that really is around the issue that leadership knew that there were quality and safety issues and did not elevate it in appropriate ways to the board. And so because of that, there were enough what's called conditions of participations noted that they felt it was important to give us an immediate jeopardy. So I wanted you all to understand that the immediate jeopardy really is about system process issues of the way that quality and safety issues are driven to the board so that the board can govern and act like a board on behalf of all children's hospitals.
System.
2832 Charlie, another clip from the town hall meeting.
Was about information flow, data collection, how you really look at quality and safety, and how that gets fed back up to the board. So that is what immediate jeopardy means. Those.
And to conclude the video clips for the town hall meeting, 2832 Delta. If you could turn this up.
If Your Honor has the ability to increase it from the bench, that's as loud as I can get it.
That's as loud as I can do it. I don't know if we'll get any feedback, but there you go.
Is a cultural issue. I think that's what the one thing that has struck me the most is that while on site, the stories that I've heard and the fear of retaliation and retribution, if you speak up and speak out, and people have real stories that they've shared with me, and I have that.
Culture of retaliation and retribution. Ooh.
Next, Your Honor, we would call Stephen Heese to the stand.
Sorry about the sound going up and down. I have no control over that.
Stand here, face the clerk, and raise your right hand.
I solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do. All right, we're gonna come this way. You're gonna see you not stand there.
Please, the court. Afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for being here on short notice. Would you please state your full name for the record?
Stephen Heese.
And would you please introduce yourself to the jury by way of your current position and profession?
Sure. I'm the president of the Chris Craft Boat Company in Sarasota, Florida. It's America's oldest boat builder, been in business for 150 years.
Thank you, Mr. Heese. I'd like to discuss for a few minutes your background, training, and experience. The jury knows the drill by now. But would you please give us the benefit of your formal education in business?
Formal education. I have an undergraduate degree. I grew up in Tampa. I went to Jesuit High School, went to Tulane University in New Orleans, got a degree in accounting, worked for several years at Price Waterhouse, went to business school at Harvard University in Boston. And that's the limit of my education.
Sure. Did I understand? And it was a master's of business administration, MBA from Harvard Business School?
Yes, with a concentration in finance.
Understood. And that was very brief. I'm going to explore it a little bit more. You mentioned, if I heard you correctly, that you worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers between undergrad and business school. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What was your role and function at PricewaterhouseCoopers?
Started off in the audit department. And then after I became certified as a certified public accountant, I switched to the management consulting department and installed enterprise resource planning software for the next following 3 years.
And how long were you at PricewaterhouseCoopers again?
Almost 5 years in total.
In those 5 years, did you have an opportunity to work within the healthcare industry?
I had audits of healthcare providers, hospitals.
Anyone that the jury might know?
Tampa General Hospital.
All right. And so you audited and analyzed the finances of Tampa General Hospital during those years?
That's correct.
And so you have familiarity with the finances of large hospital systems. Is that correct?
Yes. I also grew up in a medical family. My mom was a midwife. My sister's a nurse. I have aunts and uncles that are nurses and doctors. My daughter is a pediatric ICU nurse at Children's Hospital in New York City.
And we don't need. What took you from Harvard Business School to president of Chris Craft?
Since business school, I've made my living buying broken companies, fixing them, and selling them, particularly in the power sports business.
And so, am I correct in understanding that Chris Craft, when you purchased it, perhaps was somewhat broken?
It was at a bankruptcy auction, completely shut down in 2000. It had gone bankrupt.
And you've been president of Chris Craft for how long now?
23 years.
And under your management, has Chris Craft been successful?
Yes.
How many employees do you have at Chris Craft?
About 400.
And through your management of Chris Craft, have you had to purchase and manage the healthcare benefits and systems of Chris Craft?
Every year.
If you could, let me ask you open-ended question. Is risk management a concept that you learned at Harvard Business School?
I object to relevance foundation and relevance to this proceeding.
You can answer. Risk management, the concept of risk management. Would you please explain what that means, whether you're talking about the healthcare industry or you're talking about the marine products industry?
Sure. In any business, there's risk. Risk is something that every business has to manage. Many risks cannot be eliminated. You know, in the marine industry specifically, boats have propellers, they've got fuel tanks, they've got carbon monoxide, they're used in the water. People are having fun when they're using them, often eating and drinking. These are genuine risks that a manufacturer has to understand and manage and do their utmost to mitigate.
What role does culture play within an entity, whether it's Tampa General Hospital or Chris Craft, in terms of the risk management attitude of the employees and leadership?
Objection again, foundation.
Good question. Good question.
Could you ask the question again?
Sure. What role does culture play in terms of whether you're looking at an entity like Tampa General Hospital or Chris Craft, as culture interacts with risk management?
Again, foundation speculation. Overall.
It plays an important role, but not the only role. But for sure, the attitude of the employees is reflecting on the attitude of management and management's approach to managing the risk. So, if management is seen to be insisting that people are certified, insisting, with the standards that govern their activities, and if there's procedures in place to deal with exceptions, employees know that the employer is seeking to do the right thing at all times, top to bottom, and that culture gets created where those risks can be managed and mitigated.
Having taken over Chris Craft when it was in the midst of bankruptcy, did you have a challenge in creating the proper culture within Chris Craft to take it from bankruptcy to success?
I've been committed to standards and training of employees. And so those are the foundations, systems, training, ideally outside certifications and training, written procedures that are followed and reviewed. These are the fundamental building blocks of risk management.
Throughout your career, whether it was at the beginning of PricewaterhouseCoopers or in your past 20-something years with Chris Craft, have you seen instances where the culture was such that it allowed retaliation and retribution for employees that spoke up about doing the right thing?
Objection, foundation still.
Talking about Chris
Overall.
I have certainly seen that.
And how important is it to stamp out that type of culture that would allow such actions by leadership?
If the company is going to sustain itself, it's really important, critically important.
All right. Now, I'd like to discuss with you your report, which I believe you might have a copy there, and let's just keep it there for now.
Hi, Mark
Uh-oh.
Bargett, Sandy Hook Thomas
Commercial.
here.
Sorry.
When the gunman
There we
For
go.
now, let's just try to do this from memory and your general understanding. Have you had an opportunity, well, as part of your presidency of Chris Craft, do you monitor the industry for punitive damages awards?
Oh.
I need to approach on this one.
Huh. Okay, so they're going to talk about that. I think you want some water. Let me know if y'all have any general questions. Thank you to anyone that's joining. If you could just if you're not subscribed, those little things, they really do help support the channel and the education and work that I try to do here. And if you all have topics that you all would like for me to cover, cases that you would like for me to cover, please let me know. I did get a update on the Cody Bigsby. That one, Corey, I think the child's name was Cody. If you give me a second, I need to plug in my computer. All right. I was having some technical difficulties earlier. Hopefully this doesn't shut off in these seconds that I'm plugging in my computer. But that's one in Virginia. They are currently seeing if they're going to be able to include some jailhouse type confessions that I think the defendant's name is Corey Bigsby. And it's a really, really sad case in Virginia. And yeah, but if y'all have things that y'all would like for me to cover, please let me know. I do think the reason why the defense is trying to fight this and argue this part. So this is a great question. Why is this person's testimony relevant? So he's not connected to the case. He's a person who's an expert in building good culture. And what the plaintiffs are saying is that there was a culture of where if people had issues, where if they saw something that was wrong, that they would be penalized for that. And so I do think that this testimony is helpful. Thank you. I recorded a podcast earlier today on resilience, and I will post that once that's
Our
done.
job keeps getting easier. Let's turn to what has been marked as 2279H as in hotel. If we could.
So the judge did not allow him to talk about any punitive damages, things that he had reviewed.
Publish this, please. And the jury will have this document with them when they're deliberating regarding punitive damages. The jury will also have 2279 Juliet, as in J or Juliet, which is the next year's tax return. But let me start here because, first of all, would you explain to me and the jury what we're looking at here?
The first page is irrelevant.
What document is this?
Oh, it's a tax return for the 12 months ended June 30th, 2021. And it gets filed on the previous year because it's in the middle of the year. The new tax form isn't done, so they use the tax form for the previous tax year.
And informing your opinions, is this the document that you relied upon?
Yes.
And so it says 2020 in the top right corner.
Yes.
But if I understood your testimony, you're telling this jury that Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital files their taxes mid-year, so they would have filed in mid-year 2021, even though this says 2020.
Correct. So if you look in the middle of the page at the top, it says for the calendar year 2020 or the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending June 30, 2021. And so that the forms all follow that same time frame.
All right. Now, focusing there on page 1, would you please tell the jury what total revenue was for Johns Hopkins Children's Hospital in the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021?
Yes, so you have to go to page 9. I don't know if you all have this in front of you.
We can get to whatever page you need, so you direct us.
So page 9, and the pages are in the upper right-hand corner. Total revenue for that year was
So this is hard to see. Okay. So like just in case you're looking, it looks blurry on my end. This is very hard to see.
$555 million. And that's in the bottom of column A at the bottom of page 9.
It's at page 7.
I'm gonna fast forward.
So if you could re-express what you just said, so now the
Sure, the
jury has.
beginning of this is just checklists and required disclosures by the IRS, but the financial statements start on page 9 with the page number in the upper right-hand corner where it says page 9.
And you should have that in front of you on your screen. And
Yes.
the jury has the same. So if you would direct us to the figure that you were just discussing.
Column A, which the columns are labeled at the top, it says total revenue. And you go to the bottom of column A, and it's highlighted in yellow on what I'm looking at on the screen, $555 million.
So I imagine the jury knows the answer to this question, but for the record, what is total revenue as expressed here? What is that?
Billings, invoices, charges that the hospital sent out to its patients and other people that it provided services to.
All right. So you're aware that we're here to discuss a punitive damage award if the jury deems that appropriate here. Direct me through the document as to what figures and categories you would look to in determining what resources are available to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital to pay any punitive damages award that the jury deems appropriate.
So it starts on page 9, but if you go to page 11, it's the balance sheet of the entity. It's a nonprofit, which means that it seeks not to make a profit. Any extra cash that's left at the end of the year gets invested in the company the following year.
As of, you can stop, scroll, please. And if you could scroll up so we can see the page number at the top so the jury's oriented, they'll have that back there with them. So we're at page 11.
Yep. So
cash, non-interest bearing.
So that's $62 million that they have in there. Cash, non-interest bearing, that's typically in a checking account. Checking accounts don't pay interest. So that's at the end, it's column B actually, 46 million at the end of the year. The $62 million number is the start of the year. Column B is the end of the year, the $46 million.
So the jury can understand that at the end of the fiscal year 2021, June 30th, Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital effectively had $46 million in its checking account.
That's on line 1, yes. But really to get a clear picture, you need to go down to line 11 and add the balance of line 11, which is $518 million, which is publicly traded securities. So
Okay.
those are
Yeah, please.
Those are stocks and bonds that you could decide today that you wanted cash, tell your broker to sell them, and you'd have cash tomorrow.
So that $518 million figure here, it would not be difficult for Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital to liquidate those publicly traded securities.
And write a check 2 days from now.
They're traded on public markets.
It says publicly traded securities. People don't usually lie on their tax returns, so I would say yes, that is publicly traded securities that could be sold.
And if we do, just focusing on line 1 and line 11, if you're good at mental math, imagine you are, what are we talking about here for resources available to pay a punitive damages award? So
$570 million roughly.
what other lines or figures would you look to on this one to determine if there's any other assets?
Right below there, you have almost 6 million in other securities. And then line 13, you got another 24 million in program related.
Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong. I'm thinking John Hopkins that there's some type, it looks like the university might have stock price and ownership. I don't know about the hospital side. Because I would just wonder what those stocks were in. Because if you sold that amount of stocks, like that would significantly impact a thing. And so thank y'all to everyone who's joining live. Welcome. Let's keep it going.
Related investments. I don't know what those are, but there are certainly investments and there's money sitting there.
By the way, were you available to attend a deposition of the CFO of Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital this afternoon at 1:00?
I was available.
And given what's happened here today, you didn't have the chance to hear that testimony, did you?
No.
So you haven't had an opportunity to explore as we sit here at 3:45 what this program-related investments are.
No.
All right. So considering those, am I correct that if you were at $570 million more or less before we add another $30 million, we're now at roughly $600 million?
Correct.
Are there any other figures that you would look to on this form to determine what Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital would have available to pay a punitive damages award?
If you go further down the balance sheet, there's fixed assets, property, plant, and equipment, and real estate. So if you
And you said to go down, we're looking at a different page now.
let's have a look.
Sure.
I'm sorry, line 10A,
On the same page?
10A and 10B.
All right.
So there's 394 million roughly in property, plant, and equipment. And that number is purchase price less depreciation. So it's what was paid for it originally, less depreciation each year that goes by. Land doesn't get depreciated. So it was bought a long time ago. So I'm guessing it's substantially undervalued compared to these numbers.
And if I'm correct, the depreciation there is a tax concept, right?
Correct.
But if the purchase price here was, it looks to be $650 million for the real estate.
Land
cost
buildings, land buildings and equipment.
$650 million.
Correct.
And so the figure there in the right column, $394 million, is after depreciation, but that doesn't reflect the true depreciation in value. That reflects how it's held on the books after depreciation is accounted for.
Correct.
So you made a statement that the 650 million, the 394 significantly underestimates the real estate assets available to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital, right?
Typically, yes.
And is it your opinion that if the purchase price was $652 million, that Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital would have real estate assets in excess of that amount given inflation, appreciation, et cetera?
Yes.
Legally calls for speculation.
It does.
Overall.
And again,
I think everyone knows what's happened to Florida real estate over the last 10, 20, 30
Sure.
years.
Sure. You say you're from Tampa.
Yes.
How long has All Children's Hospital, if you know, been in that location, in those buildings on that campus?
Since I was a child.
Does that support your opinion that these numbers here are significantly undervaluing what the worth of those real estate assets is?
Yes.
Okay. But we can go with the numbers that we have here. So before we were at $600 million in cash and cash equivalents. Am I correct?
Yes.
And here, although it's significant.
Y'all, I have like 10 minutes left. Let me know if y'all have any final questions or anything. If there are no questions, we can just watch this part. But I do have to shut everything down like in the next 10 minutes. I so appreciate each and every one of you. And let me know if there are questions, and I will pause this to answer any questions.
Significantly underestimated. We have another $400 million in real estate assets as it's held in the books.
Land building equipment. Yes.
And so we're at approximately $1 billion now
Yes.
that Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital will have available to pay any punitive damages award.
Yes.
May I have a moment?
May.
Thank you.
I think I can fast forward. I think I'm a little behind.
The hospital has insurance typically.
Well, I move for a mistrial.
A mistrial?
Unbelievable.
A mistrial? Wait a minute. Okay, I'll go back.
Typically. I'm also guessing that the hospital has insurance typically.
Well, I move for a mistrial. That's unbelievable.
Mistrial. Was he not allowed to mention that? If he shouldn't have mentioned that, he should have known that beforehand. So hospitals typically do have liability insurance that covers any type of, so individual practitioners, each provider likely has insurance, and then the hospital as a whole likely has liability insurance. That's part of risk management. Things will happen, and that helps cover the, because they pay for that liability. Yes, liability insurance can be expensive, and typically those rates go up. Yeah. Okay, not allowed. Okay, got it. Makes sense. So, yeah, wow. That makes sense that it's not allowed. Yes. So what he said at the end was that they likely have insurance. So that is what he said, and I guess that is not something that's legally allowed. Yes, I'm glad y'all are like, do y'all have like a phone? Do you have multiple tabs open? I've definitely done that before. Uh because with lawyer, so lawyer, I know he was streaming earlier. I don't know if he's still streaming. And then I know Rob is streaming as well. I know he joined RA's broadcast. Let's look to see which of these are trending on my feed. Yes. Aw. Let's see. So if I type in Maya Kowalski verdict. Yes. And I will put the link for Rob's doesn't come up for me. Let me type in Law and Lumber. See if he's live over on. Okay, he must still be on RA. Recovery Addict. Is that where he's live right now? Y'all can tell me in the chat, and I'm going to get the link for this stream so people can check that out after. Ha ha ha. Thank you, Christina. You said that I'm the primary. Thank you. Yes, malpractice insurance would cover the malpractice claims in this case. Exactly. Sometimes there are limits. Like if somebody was negligent, some things won't be covered, but some things definitely could be covered. Wow. All right. Oh, wow. And so, Christina, you're rocking the phone, computer, and another phone and a tablet. That is awesome. Okay. The judge is going to explain it soon. Let me make sure I'm caught all the way up.
Totally disregarded. This comment you heard about insurance, the first thing you need to do is totally disregard it. The second thing, I'm going to tell you that under Florida law, insurance does not address or cover punitive damages. So there is no insurance for punitive damages. So you are to totally ignore the comment made about insurance coverage. Mr. Whitney, you may continue.
Now, the defense was waiting for anything. I'm going to
figures on
The defense was waiting for anything to try to declare a mistrial because they do not like the fact that I think it was every single claim. I think they were found liable on every single claim that was allowed. They were found liable on that.
the
So
balance sheet here that we haven't focused on that would inform your opinion as to the assets available to Johns Hopkins All Children's Hospital to pay a punitive damages award.
No.
Having reviewed the balance sheet here with the jury, page 11 of 2279 hotel, have all of your opinions been based upon your background, training, and experience and offered to a reasonable degree of accounting and management probability?
Yes.
And ultimately, what is your opinion as to the resources or assets available to pay any punitive damages award in terms of the numbers we discussed on this sheet?
At least $1.2 billion.
When you say $1.2 billion.
Correct.
No further questions this time.
Mr. Shapiro.
Sure, thank you. Mr. Heese, you've known Mr. Anderson for what, 20 years?
Yes.
You guys were hugging and high-fiving in the hallway, weren't you?
Wow.
What do you mean?
I saw you hugging and high-fiving Mr. Anderson in the hallway. Were
I
you not?
high-fived him.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about your opinions. This is a
You want a
nonprofit
difficult
charitable
case.
organization, true?
It filed a tax return on a nonprofit tax return, so I'm assuming it's a nonprofit entity.
Yeah, this is a children's hospital. That's my point. You know this is a nonprofit 501c3, true?
Yes,
All the money, and I think you said this in fairness to you, all the money that's left over at the end of the year gets reinvested back into the community, true?
I don't know about the community, the entity.
Right. And do you know what the charitable mission of All Children's Hospital is?
I am not aware of that.
It's right there on the tax return. Before you testified, you didn't look?
You can draw my attention to
Sure.
that.
2279H002. We can put it up on the screen. See summary part 1?
Yep.
What does it say?
I was looking at part 3. Part 1, which page are you on?
Please briefly describe the organization's mission and most significant activities. Am I reading this right? Provide leadership in child health through treatment, education, advocacy, and research. Is that right?
Strive to provide the highest quality of care to improve the health of the entire community through innovation, collaboration, service excellence.
Well, let's talk about innovation. Are you aware that All Children's has a training program to train the next generation of doctors and residents?
No,
You've lived in the community for 20 years. You had no idea there was a residency training program?
did not know that.
Did you know that All Children's receives grants to do research?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you a little bit about, you talked about revenue of $555,256,053. There's expenses, aren't there?
Yes.
What were they?
If you look at the following page, the total is there.
All right, so it looks like the prosecution's going to put up a witness. The defense is going to cross-examine them. I had some interesting things happening in the chat, and I was able to manage that. Thank y'all again for all the support. I have put the stream link for RA, for Recovery Addict, over in the chat. Once again, I appreciate each and every one of you all so much. And I need to head to my next appointment. I am incredibly, just personally happy for this family. It was difficult to try to stay neutral, but I really did try. And I do think the hospital, I do think the court played a large role in what this family experienced. And they've already settled with the like DSS, with that system already. And I truly just hope that this family can be on a path and journey toward healing and recovery, because it is incredibly just difficult. And so please head over to Recovery Addict if y'all still want to watch this type of stream. But I hope y'all enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.